What's up, guys? Seth Feider here, getting ready to kick off the 2023 Bassmaster Elite Series season, and the first two stops for us are in Florida this year. First stop's Okeechobee, and then we're going to Seminole. Quite a bit different fisheries, but both kind of got, you know, real similar stuff. I like to keep it real simple in Florida. I'm not going to have 30 rods on the deck. I got a few baits I really like, a couple for covering water and a couple for slowing down, but I'll probably have all these same setups on at both events we go to, and we'll just start going through them. First one of my favorite ways to fish in Florida. It doesn't always work out in tournaments set up like that, but if I could have it my way, I'd love to punch. And for me, that's going to be a 1 to 1.5 ounce Woo tungsten sinker paired up with the Z-Man palmetto bug, kind of a beaver style bait, and a redline straight shank hook. And I'm going to fish that on this is a Daiwa Rebellion 7.9 heavy on the Tatula pitch and flip 8 to 1. I got 50-pound Suffix 131 braid on there. If it gets really cold, or usually that time of year there is some cold fronts, but if it gets really cold, that's usually the best time to punch down there. And it's a big heavy rod, a lot of power, oversized handle on the reel, oversized knobs, allows me to put a lot of pressure on those fish, pull them out of there. But that would, I'd just basically be going around daubing hyacinths or bent over cattails, whatever it may be. But one of my favorite ways to fish in Florida, but it just seems like historically through the tournaments I've fished down there, that doesn't usually end up being the way I get to fish. Usually it seems like they're kind of out of that heavy cover and getting closer to the spawn when we're there. But that being said, going into the spawning fish, this is probably my favorite Florida bait. And all these colors are going to be real similar, pretty heavy on the blacks and blues and purples, a little bit of shad stuff in there, but that's just it's a bang sticks. It's basically a stickworm style bait, but it does have a couple little tentacles on the bottom of it, but just in that black blue two-tone. That's about my favorite color in Florida. Most of the water down there is really dark, and I'll fish that on a real lightweight. That's a 3/16 Woo tungsten, same hook, 3/0 red line straight shank, paired up with that bait, and that's a really good just get bites bait in Florida. Works well on bedfish, whether you can see them or not, if I'm just blind fishing for bedfish, or just pitching it around any light to moderate heavy cover, clumps of pads, lighter grass, reeds, seawalls, docks, anything like that. That just, you get a lot of bites on that, and you can catch big ones on that too. And as far as the tackle goes, I got that. This one I like fishing the high vis braid on. That's 30 pound, 832. I'll tie a 15 to 20 pound leader on there depending on what I'm fishing. I got it on the Tatula 70 and an 8 to 1. Really like this reel. It's got the SV spool on it. It allows me to pitch that light little worm around with ease. And I got it on a Tatula Elite 7-foot medium heavy Sabrenaler Finesse edition. And that combo there, I like the bright line just because a lot of times I'm fishing that bait and I'm just kind of pitching it up there and letting it sit. It's not a lot of tight line fishing with it, so that allows me to see that line taking off when one does grab it and start swimming with it. Do a lot of line watching when I'm fishing a bait like that. It's just real slow, just making long pitches to any kind of isolated cover, anywhere it looks like one might spawn, or even just a hole in the grass, and just fishing it really slow just in case those fish are spawning. And a couple of years ago I had a really good tournament at St. John's River. I finished, in the top 10, but I caught every fish in that tournament on that setup. 3/16 ounce weight, lightweight, and just kind of pitching it around wherever I think a fish might spawn. Next technique, this is probably my next favorite one for actually catching them in tournaments. Just a Z-Man jackhammer, either this black and blue color. I've had good luck with this golden shiner color down there as well. Pair that up with a razor shad trailer. Just fishing a lot of submerged grass. I think this one's going to be a big player at Seminole. I see myself kind of pitching and flipping more at Okeechobee, and when we get to Seminole, it'll probably be a lot more chatterbait fishing for me, submerged offshore or close to shore hydrilla. I can take that, make long casts, cover a ton of water, get that bait down in the grass, rip it out and get reaction strikes, and that's just a proven Florida killer. For that setup, I'm gonna go 7-to-1 zillion bait caster on a 7.4 heavy glass Tatula rod, one of my favorite rods. I pair that up with 17 to 20 pound fluorocarbon and just cover water, try to find groups of fish that are pre-spawn, moving into spawning areas. Probably one of the best search baits there is in Florida. Next to my last bait, which is going to be a 3/8 ounce black blue heavy cover outcast tackle swim jig. Some of the stuff you fish, like the chatterbait, isn't great in the emergent vegetation, like the bigger pads and the dollar pads and stuff like that, which I think Okeechobee has a lot of. That's when I'll go for the swim jig. It just comes through that cover better. It's still a bait I can throw a long ways, cover a lot of water with. I'll pair that up with a Z-Man Helicross trailer. Got a lot of flapping action. I can keep that bait up in the water column and working through those pads and stuff like that, looking for fish. And you know, those are kind of my two moving baits, is the chatterbait and the swim jig, and just kind of bounce back and forth for them. You know, I kind of like fishing more submerged cover with the chatterbait, and then more of the, you know, emergent vegetation with the swim jig. And for that setup, I got a same rod as the bang sticks, a 7-foot medium heavy ailer Tatula Elite, and I got that on the Tatula 80. I'm throwing a pretty heavy bait with that swim jig. I don't really need the SV spool as much. This one doesn't have it. I think it casts a little bit further with a heavy bait. 30-pound Suffix 832 braid. For this one, I'm going straight braid, no leader, right to the swim jig, swimming it through all that cover. I can kill it in the holes and whatnot, and you know, a lot of fish will show themselves on that bait, whether I catch them or not. You know, even spawning fish will come out and take a swipe at a bait like that. So that's something I can, you know, cover water with, find fish with, and catch some really big fish. But you know, I keep it real simple for Florida. You know, maybe mixing a prop bait or something like that. But for sure, at Seminole and Lake Okeechobee, these baits will be on the deck. Pretty simple colors, really heavy on the black, blue, purple, stuff like that. A little bit of shad, a little bit of green pumpkin, but baits I can cover water, find fish, I can catch spawning fish, and then if it does get cold, go to that punch rig. And you know, that's kind of it for me. I keep it real simple in Florida, a lot of braided line. You're fishing heavy cover, heavy vegetation, and you know, real simple on the colors. And you know, it works for me. It's traditional stuff. This isn't anything crazy, real historic, good Florida fish catching baits, and you know, just kind of try to find the right areas and not think too much about what I'm using, and keep these in my hand. They'll be on the deck for both events, and hopefully find some fish and make some top 10s, or maybe might mess around and win one. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty simple stuff for Florida fishing in my book.